today we're looking at finding the craft video, and then we've got some other stuff, and I've just forgotten off the top of my head what I've picked. Never mind. So we're looking at everyone's favourite My Animated Stories, and today's story is My Classmate is a Murderer, which will be fun because these are absolutely crazy and fun.
Hi, I'm Sam, and I was only 12 when I solved a murder. You see, my dad is the sheriff of our small town, and around here is a local hero. As expected, he is also my personal hero and role model. So, it's not a surprise to
Dad has abs. He's a dad with abs.
anyone that I want to be a cop just like him when I grow up. My mum doesn't appreciate it much, but she also doesn't much talk about it. For me, being a real-life cop has always been my fantasy. I read books a lot. Mystery and crime novels are my favourites, and on many occasions I try to figure out who the killer is right from the start of a mystery.
Cool. I think everyone does that with their murder mysteries, and everyone gets it wrong by a few people. Unless it's like obvious.
Novel. Most of the times, my guess is accurate. But I know merely solving crimes in novels doesn't make me a cop. Little did I know I would have the chance to solve one in real life at a very early age. One day something unusual happened in our small town. There was a murder and the whole town was in shock. 16-year-old Jane had been killed in her own house, right in her bedroom, and everyone was talking about it. In my small town, everyone knows everyone, and news here travels really fast.
Yeah, I know that. Coming from a small town, I can tell you, news travels fast. Even if it never reaches the online circles, it's just like, and everyone knows. No one's even put up a Facebook post about it. It's brilliant.
Not much happens around here. Just a few burglaries once in a while, and the petty criminals get busted almost every time.
Sheep escaping.
Someone getting killed was unheard of. These people needed answers, and the cops were under a lot of pressure. I was terrified when I heard the news. Why would anyone kill Jane? She's one of those kind and cool girls who's loved by everyone. I couldn't grasp what...
Cool girls tend not to be kind. They're cool because they're nasty brats, but this isn't realistic, is it?
happened. My dad was really confused about the murder. He had not had to investigate a murder for a very long time. He was
confused. Someone got murdered. There is a murderer.
Sincerely concerned about the safety of the people, and the fact that a killer might be on the loose really ticked him off. My dad and his best friend, another cop at the police department, had been working on the case for some days. They have been digging for answers and clues to unravel the mystery, and they were getting really frantic because they couldn't find any hint. I knew how frustrating the situation was for my dad, but what I couldn't understand was, what would a teenage girl do to deserve to be killed? I mean,
usually boyfriend.
what has she done that someone decided to take her life? Everyone...
She's a teenager. It's something annoying. Very annoying. Oh, the boyfriend.
in the town was tense, and the situation was pretty much the same in school as well. People wouldn't stop talking about the murder. Rumours started flying around in the school. Dad says people are scared of things they don't understand, and when people get scared, they will always make up stories. With all the stories and rumours, I was getting more scared myself. What if the killer is never found and he kills again? What if he is after young girls? What if he comes after me or one of my friends? The whole situation was putting me and everyone else on edge. I wished my dad would just find the killer already.
I know, there's like a whole police force, but your daddy has to do all this work. Daddy, find the cop, find the murderer. You're a cop, just find them, Daddy.
Knew he was trying his best. Every night he would spend hours on the front porch with his friend discussing the case and their findings so far. Dad has no
I'll just have a beer. He's having a beer, some donuts, and discussing case.
issues with me hanging around, and I sometimes listen in on their conversation, but I rarely say anything. I got to learn a lot about the case this way.
You snooped on your dad.
Dad's friend was convinced that the murder was a case of a burglary gone wrong. In their conversations, I overheard them say that the victim was killed with what they term a weapon of opportunity. She was
So she's been whopped
bashed in the head with a table lamp, which meant whoever killed her hadn't really intended to because they had no weapon. But my dad...
Yeah, they had intended to do her some harm to get her back off, so they weren't bringing the cops. So that is sometimes the argument. Sometimes that happens. Yeah. Daddy is on the case.
Dad said since the house bears no sign of being burgled, then whoever killed her had access to the house and must have been close to the victim and not just some random burglar. But who would have killed Jane? Her parents are always away on business, and on this particular night, she was alone as usual. She didn't have many friends, too.
Boyfriend.
In fact, she had just one close friend named Tori, and the cops don't think she could have done it either. Dad said Jane was supposed to go to a concert that night, but Tori told her she'll miss it. Wait a minute, a concert? Who goes to a concert without their best friend? Something is not adding up here. Wheels were turning in my small detective mind. This isn't one of...
That's a hard clue, is that? She was going to a concert and leaving her best friend behind because you can't do anything by yourself.
Your fancy novel stories, I told myself. This is real life. Yeah. I decided to let the thoughts slide, but continued to listen to my dad's conversation with his friend anyways. The next day at school was just like the last. Everyone was still talking about Jane's murder, and the stories were getting weirder and scarier. I started thinking more about it, wondering if there was any way I could help find the killer. Just like everyone else, the thought of...
Why do you think...
The killer roaming the streets freely in our small town scared me, and I felt as responsible to find him. The next day, Dad's friend came over to go over the details of the murder like they usually do.
And I snooped, because I'm a nosy gal.
This time, I was listening in on their conversation with rapt attention. Dad's friend insists on the burglary theory, but he can't prove anything is missing in the room. The girl's purse, phone, and other valuables were right there in the room where she was murdered, and none of those things had been stolen. With nothing missing, it's hard to conclude. For a moment, I let the little detective in me set to work. I think long and hard for a while, and come up with nothing. I searched for clues based on what I've heard so far, but still couldn't come up with anything. Heck, being a cop isn't easy. My head hurts already from thinking too much. Then...
Yeah, I think you're overthinking it. Right, just leave it to Daddy.
A thought crossed my mind. Maybe something is indeed missing, but the cops don't even know it yet. Did you check the girl's closet? I asked, cutting into their conversation. I know I shouldn't have done that, but the theory forming in my mind was simply too exciting to ignore. I wonder what my dad would think about me listening in on their conversation, or even cutting in the way I did. Dad and his friend looked at me confused.
Yeah, Daddy needs you to do his job.
But he answered all the same. Yes, we did check the closet. Nothing seemed to be missing there. It was a jungle in there, Dad's friend says. Lots of bags and a few shoes. Did he just say a few shoes? Everyone at school knows Jane had tons of shoes.
They stole her shoes and then murdered her? Those shoes must have been like Louis Vuittons or whatever.
Where did all the shoes go? I zoned off for a moment and got excited. If shoes were missing, then a girl might be the thief and killer. And the closet...
Why? Why can boys not like shoes? Why? And some of the weird. No, we won't go into that. But boys like shoes. Some boys like shoes, and some weird boys, really weird boys, like shoes. Cause
Its suspect here is Tori.
Yeah.
I was dazed for a minute. I couldn't tell exactly how I was feeling at that moment. While I was excited at the prospects of my discovery, I wasn't quite sure about telling my dad yet. What if I am wrong about this and Tori is innocent? I could get into a lot of trouble. What would...
Guess you could, but I don't think court takes. Oh, you knew she had more shoes than that without actual evidence she had more shoes than that. Why would someone kill someone over shoes? What kind of shoes are they? What level of gold-platedness are they? For them.
Dad feel about me intruding into the investigation? The next day at school was torture. All around me, people were still talking about the murder. The mere fact that I might have the answer to the question everyone was asking made it listening to their conversations a lot harder. I have to do something about it. I decided to tell my dad about it. He shouldn't be too angry. I was only trying to help. And so far, I haven't even done anything wrong. I think...
No, you're just doing your daddy's job for him. Because daddy's rubbish. Look, your daddy might not be as good as what you think he is if he needs you to do his job.
I think Tori might have killed her friend accidentally. I told my dad the moment I got a chance to speak to him after school. I went ahead to tell him my thoughts about the case. I knew both girls from school. The thing is, while Jane's parents are rich and she had everything, Tori's parents weren't. Jane had too much of everything, so much that Tori might have felt that if she stole a few of her friend's shoes and bags, she wouldn't even notice. The concert was her perfect opportunity. She would sneak in when Jane was away, which is why she intentionally missed the concert. But it seems Jane returned while the burglary was on, which led to a struggle that resulted in her death. Of course, my theory wasn't 100%
That's a stretch. Go on.
accurate, but it was close enough to get the cops to take a closer look at Tori. She turned out to be guilty, just as I predicted. The cops had missed the major detail.
The major detail of lack of shoes.
Because they were adults. None of them expected a girl missing a concert or a few missing shoes and bags to lead to a murder. Adults don't think those small things matter, but for teens, it is everything. My dad commended my contributions and said it helped them solve the entire case. I know he is proud of me. As for me, I felt really proud of myself too. Maybe I might indeed have a knack for solving mysteries after all, and might even grow up to become a detective in the future.
Oh dear. They get worse to them.